The EPCHS. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at the EPCHS.com.
Belly on up to the 9-foot homemade oak bar. Pour yourself a cold one. My name is Chris. That's Hannah over there. This is the EP Podcast Football Friday, and also the show we're going to announce the winner of the Battle of Evergreen Park.
Yes!
It has been a couple of weeks here, and it has been intense, and there have been some surprises, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to announce the winner. And then we have Coach Jim Ramazinski, the head coach of the Evergreen Park Mustangs, on this show to kick off the thing that's going to be happening each and every Friday here on the EP Podcast feed, and that is a conversation with the head coach of the Evergreen Park Mustangs, taking us all throughout the season. We've done this for the last couple of years. It's exciting, and we're going to try to bring in people this year to talk about maybe some of the grammar schools when they get going, right? We're going to bring in people that cover other teams in the area every once in a while to tell us who's getting good around town, while we're also focusing heavily on the Mustangs. It's all brought to you by the First National Bank of Evergreen Park. You need a bank you can rely on, one that knows your neighborhood, one that was just on the last episode of the EP Podcast. Great segment towards the end of there, all about some of the products they have that help you take advantage of maybe a little bit of inflation and rates going up, and how to protect yourself and what to do with the fact that maybe you have a little bit less cash in your wallet. There were some great tips in there. Remember, you get free ATMs nationwide, a $300 bonus when you open up a checking account, $200 when you open up a savings account, and that statement savings special at 4% interest. I mean, that's better.
Amazing.
It's better than like CDs a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And that's what you're getting on a savings account, where you can draw from it whenever you want to without any penalty. That's awesome. Make sure you stop in and see them, 95th and Pulaski, in that iconic building, the First National Bank of Evergreen Park. All right, here we go.
Here we go.
18 establishments entered the Battle of Evergreen Park at the beginning of August. The play-in games occurred. The first round of 16 occurred. Upsets all over the place.
Big upsets.
One of those upsets was in the play-in when Wolf's Bakery shellacked Rainbow Cone.
Yeah.
They said, you're on the other side of Western, and nobody cares. We're Wolf's Bakery. Just beat them like a drum. And then Wolf's Bakery with a convincing upset of Baracos. It wasn't by a percentage point. It was
overwhelming.
Convincing upset. And from that moment on, I said, that team's going to the finals. Even when they faced Pappy's, I was like, I
knew they were going to beat Pappy's.
That's who's going to the finals.
I knew they would beat Pappy's.
Rosangela's kind of squeaked by a very active on social media Spoken Vine.
They spoke. Bicycle spoke, squeak, haha.
Oh, that's terrible. That's an awful joke. Wow, I might have to ban you from Football Friday going forward. Okay. But Spoken Vine, the upstart, really hit social media, and Rosangela's, I don't think it took it very seriously.
Yeah.
And Spoken Vine almost upset them. And then Rosangela's kind of righted the ship, won their semifinal game. They're in the finals as well. So it's Rosangela's, who I think a lot of people, the moment the Baracos went down, said they're going to win, versus Wolf's, that I think a lot of people have sat back and said, it's possible. So, without further ado, I don't have the results in front of me. Hannah got the results moments ago. She's been, you get a kick out of the fact that you know and I don't know.
I love it because I've been pulling for this business, for this one, from the beginning when we were just planning it out.
Who won?
Rosangela's!
Rosangela's Pizza wins. What was
by
it?
70%.
Wow.
By 70%, Rosangela's wins the Battle of Evergreen Park.
That, you know what? That is surprising
by 70%.
to me. I'm going to tell you something. It's surprising to me because Wolves had done so well against everybody else.
Yeah.
I expected that to be really close.
By 70%.
And then it's a blowout at the end.
But you know what? Wolves just blazed everybody. You know, they were like the right in.
they blazed everybody. So they did incredible. And then, like, I was thinking, like you, like, okay, well, they're just whooping everybody left and right. They're going to win this thing. And then when Faith, our social media manager, emailed me the results, I was like, oh, really? Wow. That's wow.
I had checked in with her earlier today, and I had said, look, I just want you to pull them at a certain time. And she actually made a joke like, I could probably pull it now. And I was like, well, get to the end of the vote. So it must have been a blowout for the whole day. You know what? Here's the thing. In the end, Rosangelo's was always going to be a tough one to beat.
Yes.
The fact that Spoken Vine showed that if you work hard on social media, you can beat them. Because I think next year they're trouble in this tournament. They're going to be established. They've got a machine, obviously, online.
Yeah.
And places like Rosangelo's and Wolf's don't do that. They're not on the social media that often. And so that may make a difference next year. But for this year, I'm not shocked in any way. That's the number 2 seed. I seeded this tournament. That's the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me based upon the seeding. Congratulations to Rosangelo's.
Yay!
And next week on the EP podcast, we'll have a big giveaway that has to do with our winner. All
nice.
right, I was going to give away lemon fluff, but instead I'll be giving away pizza.
Yeah.
So make sure you're listening to the EP podcast. All right, and we've got lots of good stuff. Glenn Panuski is going to be on the next episode coming up here. He's got some stuff going on with the community center. The new principal of Queen of Martyrs is going to sit down with us, and Most Holy Redeemer Day of Giving is back. They're bringing me back to their 1-hour telethon. And we're going to talk about that as well and have them on a packed show. Make sure you are subscribed anywhere podcasts can be found and always at the EPPodcast.com. And don't worry, the show is not over. It's time for Football Friday with Coach Ram. So now joining me at the 9-foot homemade oak bar, Jim Ramazinski, the head coach of the Evergreen Park Mustangs. Coach Ram, how are you?
Very good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you continuing the tradition of Football Fridays and coming on the EP podcast. I think people really enjoy it, and it'll be kind of fun to follow along in your first year as head coach of the team. Are you giddy? Are you excited yet? Are you nervous? Like, what if I had to ask you one word that describes the build up to the first contest of the year? What is it?
I mean, I think excited is probably the easiest way to describe it. I mean, I've been kind of thinking about this day since I was hired in March, and then meeting the team more, having summer camp, starting practices, starting school, just kind of amps up that excitement. It's been a long time, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, you've been preparing for this for a while. Like since you knew you had the job, getting used to the players. I saw you out there during the 4th of July parade, the Independence Day parade in the middle of the summer, and you knew the guys walking down the street, and you're like, oh, we're down here, and your wife's jumping in and helping the kids, and I'm like, oh man, they are embedded. They are full-blown Evergreen Park Mustangs. Let's get this team together and let's get this show on the road. So I would imagine you're pumped up. I look at your schedule, and the first thing that pops into my mind is when I would talk to Coach Jerry Verdi about like scheduling. And he would sit there and say, it's a whole process, like trying to figure out how you're going to get other schools to play when you're getting those non-conference games. This schedule was set up for you, right? This is one that was already in place before you were hired?
Yeah, this was all set up before I got hired.
When will you get the schedule? Will you have the schedule next year? Will that be the first time you sit it? Or are there contracts in place? It's going to be a few years before you have any influence on that.
Well, you're going to play your conference teams every year, as you know. And then these non-conference games are typically 2-year contracts, a home and away. Like we'll be playing Marengo next year away, this year home Friday night, August 25th at 7 p.m.
Okay. So you got a couple years here that this is
a 2-year deal.
2-year schedule.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at these teams and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I see the non-conference games. These are all different names than I saw for the last couple years. So these are brand new 2-year agreements here. We got new teams that we haven't seen before.
Yes.
Yeah. You got Marengo is your first game. And then you've got another non-conference against Longwood.
Yep.
Okay, which is a Chicago school. Then you're going to get into your conference season with Revis. And then you got Bremen. And then you've got Richards, Oak Lawn, Eisenhower, Argo, Shepherd. All those teams on there we've seen before. First two teams we haven't seen. Sometimes teams will be scheduled with really difficult competition in those non-conference games. Sometimes they're almost warm-ups. I know you didn't set this schedule, but what do you prefer? Do you prefer the make it really tough on them, and that way when they get to the conference, they're like ready to just beat everybody up, or do you like to ease into a season?
Well, we always like a challenge. We want to be getting better each week, and Marengo's a good opponent to start with because they've had some success in recent years. They were a playoff team last year as well. They are similar to Evergreen Park in, smaller school. They're just not near the Chicago area. So it'll be a good matchup. They have a good coach over there, Coach Paul Forsyth. He knows he's a sharp guy, and they're going to be prepared. We're going to be prepared. It's going to be a good battle on Friday night.
You look at the tape of this team. I'm sure you've seen something on them at some point, right? So, what kind of team are they, and how do they match up with the Mustangs?
They're a team that likes to run the ball a little bit. It's going to be unique to see what they do this year because they had a different quarterback last year who ended up going to play at Northern Illinois. I know they have a new quarterback this year who's athletic. He's a solid player. We're just looking forward to competing with them on Friday night. We've been preparing for a very long time for them, just like they have, and we're just kind of ready to go with it.
Is that kind of how it is? Like first game of the season, you've been looking at each other for so long. It's probably the most prepared you're going to be for a single game all year long.
Well, weirdly, maybe not because it's a new opponent. It's one of those teams that you haven't played in the past. All I know is this, Chris. At this point, the Evergreen Park Mustangs are ready to see somebody else on the other side of the field. And Friday
they're
night,
ready to hit somebody other than their teammates.
Correct. I mean, you hit those. Summer camp's fun, and then you hit a little dog days of summer camp where people are kind of tired of just going against each other. And then school starts. It's busy time, and nothing kind of helps build that excitement than that first Friday night, and we're excited.
Do you watch shows like Hard Knocks on HBO? I watch it every year.
I didn't get a chance to watch the new season yet. With
there are only 2 in right now.
Yeah, with New York Jets.
It makes you kind of like Aaron Rodgers, which I never thought I would.
I've been hearing that.
Yeah,
yes.
But you watch and you're like, I kind of dig this guy. Like I kind of get him as I'm watching it, and he knows there's cameras on him, of course. But I kind of get his whole vibe, and I'm like, I dig Aaron Rodgers, and I hate admitting it, but I watch these training camps, and this is at a pro level. This is different from what you're doing, but you see that as they're getting into camp every year in Hard Knocks, eventually there's a scuffle. There is a fight. There's somebody who doesn't like the way they were hit, and they're teammates. And you want intensity, I would imagine, as a coach, but you also don't want them fighting each other. Do you deal with that at the high school level as well?
I mean, not too often. Our guys know how to be in control, practice hard, get to that level of intensity without getting out of control. And that's what we're trying to constantly prepare them for. You want them aggressive, and you want them to want to go out there and run into people and do all that. But at the same time, you got to harness that energy and make sure you're in control, or else you might just do something that might hurt your team out.
Yeah, for sure. How are you handling the heat this week? Everybody's expecting a lot of heat. I think I saw something that Chicago Public Schools are telling them they can't practice outside for the next couple of days. And I saw one coach's quote from CPS saying, at this point, we've had so much practice, they'll be happy to be in the gym and the air conditioning, and we're fine with it. How are you guys dealing with that? Are you worried?
Well, we're fortunate we have the Evergreen Park Sportsplex.
There you go.
And we've been able to use, or we'll be able to use it, and we used it today, and it gives us a good amount of space for us to work. We had a very competitive practice in there today, which, the last thing you want is to get moved to a gym and then, the level of competition drops because
it's basically a field out there. It's an indoor field. You can do a lot of things in there.
Yeah. So we were fortunate enough. We were able to use it, and we'll be able to use it for the rest of the weekend. Our guys didn't miss a beat. Practicing there was great.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So tell me about this team. People who follow the team, have kids on the team, or have listened to this show over the last couple of years may recognize some names, especially if they're upperclassmen. But tell me a little bit about this team. I want to say that I get the picture that in high school football, you got a lot of kids, and you're looking for guys that are going to read their playbook, be ready to play hard, and then you got a sprinkling of 1 or 2 or 3 or a small group of you don't want to use the word stars because they're younger, but they're that higher level. They're that premier player. They're that person that could take over a game and score 3 touchdowns. Like, who do you have this year that we're keeping an eye on?
Well, we're fortunate enough to return Dejan Feliciano. He's been the quarterback, and he's our leader. He carries our team as far as setting the tone for practice. Him and the other captains as well. But he's a great player, and the best part about him is he leads by example. He's an excellent student. He's getting college offers to play football. He just got one from McAllister College, which is one of the top 25 schools in the country. So we're very excited for that. But we also have, we got a lot of guys. I mean, we got a lot of guys who are leaders. We got Eduardo Antunes. He's a 3-sport athlete at Evergreen, all-state wrestler, as well as, an excellent football player. Jed Ajayi, a running back, DB, just a great kid who works hard, leads by example. Gerald O'Hare, one of our linemen, he'll be a big factor in the middle for us. And also Antonio Clay Jones, who's very explosive and also a great teammate.
I remember last year, one of the things with that team was they had a offensive line that had been with each other for a couple of years, and they were a mature offensive line, and that allowed to set the tone, because you can run then. You start running, you opens up your passing game. That line controlling, because they've been with each other for so long, something that most high school teams don't have. There was a lot of continuity there. What's it look like this year?
It's looking good. I mean, we got some new faces there, but we got some returners there as well. And, it's one of those things, offensive line, sometimes you look at it in June, and you're like, okay, we got some work to do. But then you slowly... I mean, that's
I love that. I love the honesty of it. Yeah.
That's every year. I mean, especially, if you don't return, let's say 4 out of 5, you got some things that you got to work out, kind of find some spots. But our coaches have done an excellent job, and our players have responded well throughout the summer. And, the best part about it is each week in summer camp, you see them get a little bit better, and then you come back in August, and, when things are clicking at the right time, which we're starting to feel like they are, you're feeling good about what you have. And those guys work together. They work hard. And we got two really good leaders on that offensive line that's going to help anchor that and be our, not just anchor that offensive line, but they're leaders for the entire team. So,
are you a defense first coach, offense first coach, the coach that sits there and lets the assistants run those different departments? Like, what are you on the sideline in a game?
Well, I'm blessed that we have such a phenomenal staff. A lot of those guys are back, and like Darren Yarborough, our offensive coordinator, is a very good coach. Been around for a long time. Jason Fondukian's an awesome offensive line coach. We got Matt Paschakarnas, one of our running backs coaches, new face in Evergreen. But, those guys spend a lot of time together. I spend more time with the defense, but kind of just making sure, I got my eye on everything. But when you are surrounded by excellent coaches like I have on defense as well, Dave Pierce, Marty Mulcrone, those guys make your job easier because, I think we have a good relationship, good mesh, and things are going well. And, our lower level coaches as well, they're doing a good job of just continuing to build the excitement of football, develop their skills. We got Ron Zimmerman, Neil Martin, Jerry Verdi, who's been invaluable for us. Also, Pat McNicholas. So we're blessed with a great staff.
That's awesome. So when somebody watches this team this year, are they going to see anything different in how, or is it because you have so many returning coaches, like the offense is going to be basically the same, the defense is going to be the same? Like, are you run first, pass first? Like what are we going to get out of the Mustangs this year? Is this a grind it out and then take your chances, or are you spreading them 5 wide and gunslinging?
Well, the beauty of having a quarterback that's been around is you can do both. So we're hoping to be able to just kind of build game to game and continue to add new layers, passing game, running game, all types of game we have going with that. Defensively, there's a little bit of difference for sure, but it's been great because all the coaches have a great understanding and the players have responded really well. So we're looking forward to showing it off Friday night.
I'm looking to see what your quarterback does this year. I really am. I mean, because I've heard his name now for the last couple of years on this show, because I remember his head coach sitting on this show and telling me about this was a learning experience, or he was in a really tough spot there and he had to make this decision. Sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, but you've kind of seen over the years he's been in a lot of situations now where I think you would call him, at least at the high school level, he's a true veteran who knows what he's got to do, right?
No doubt. And, Dejan's like anyone. He had a couple tough practices here and there, but what he's very good at is he's bouncing back. He understands, the most important play, it's cliche, but it's true. The most important play in football is the next play. You cannot continue to dwell when everybody's going to make a mistake at a game. Nobody plays perfect all 48 minutes. But what he's got an excellent ability to do, stay calm, stay cool, stay collected, and then respond, and his teammates feed off of that. And he's just a leader. I mean, it's really that simple. He's a great player and a great example for our community.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to the first game. It's just going to be a lot of fun. And I think this season is going to be a fun season for your team as well. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot with what are your expectations for the year? But I would imagine it's at least we're a playoff team and we want to get in there and then we want to make some noise when we're in there. Is that fair to say?
We want to make a deep run every year. That's the goal. We want to be in the mix to be playing on week 11 or beyond every year. Week 12 really is the goal every year. And then once we get to that point where we're continuing to do that, we want to win a state championship. I mean, we want to do that. That's our goal. And I'm a believer, set your goals as high as you possibly can, continue to work towards it. And, as long as you have a good attitude about it and people are working together as teams, good things will happen.
That's awesome. Home game opening up this Friday. Is that right? You're going so 7 p.m.
7 p.m. is varsity, August 25th, Friday. We're very excited. We're hoping to see a big crowd out there.
Awesome. Well, good luck against Marengo, and then we'll see you next week, and you could tell me about all the things that went right, because nothing's going to go wrong, right? Everything's going to go.
I'm sure I'll be I'll be talking about things, like I just said.
You could deliver messages through this show.
Yeah,
Coach last year figured that out. He figured out they were listening. And I could tell about halfway through the year, he would say something after a question. I'm like, he's delivering a message to his team because he knows they're listening, like when he says stuff. So yeah, I mean, I would imagine, I don't want to see you come in angry, but there's a chance it happens at some point, and I'm going to be fascinated by it.
Well, no team is perfect. We're going to make mistakes. As long as we continue to respond well, pick each other up, good things will happen.
Awesome. Coach Ram, thanks so much. We'll see you.
Thank you very much, Chris.
It's the EP Podcast, all things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast, Evergreen Park.